Greetings, my name is Dr. Jace Hargis, and I would like to take some time to share an updated presentation on emerging technology for the classroom. I've entitled this one Appropriate, Relevant, Meaningful Technology, or ARM technology. So I'll use that acronym a bit, mainly because what I want to focus on isn't just technology in itself, but specifically technology that makes sure that you're doing the kind of things you would like to in the classroom, which would be engagement, increased engagement for students. For instance, does this appear to be ARM technology? Well, some might think that it is. It is definitely a form of technology. We'll leave it up to you whether you think that this is something that's more appropriate. The one model that I am going to use as far as an overflowing model is called the SAMR model. This is Ruben Puntedera. He came up with this model to help us gauge where we are in technology. Keeping in mind that there's not one or other that's better. But the SAMR starts with basically substitution, augmentation, modification, and then redefinition. The whole point here is to identify where you're at, and starting at the substitution stage and even beginning there for a while is perfectly fine, because that substitution could add some power. Keeping in mind that substituting from a hard copy to an electronic form is a great way and almost an essential way to begin, and then trying to find a way to make sure that you're using this technology in ways that hard copy or traditional technologies could not do. There's fairly a landmark video that if you haven't seen it, it's called Shift Happens, and it came out about 8 years ago, Kansas State University, and it talks about this whole concept about where students are and how they use technology. I'd encourage you to take a look at that video, because I think that in some aspects we're very much the same, and other aspects we've changed quite a bit. The research on ARM technology, on instructional technology, three main things that I tend to use. The first one is the EDUCAUSE New Medium Consortium Horizon report. This is a report that comes out every year in February. K-12 has a report, higher education has a report. And this basically lists what they believe to see for education technology on the horizon. And I'll speak a little bit more about that in the next slide. They have a lot of DOE reports, and then ultimately this really interesting EDUCAUSE 7 things that you should know. So whenever something comes out, you know what you should do with that, how it's going to affect teaching and learning, how you're going to be able to engage students. This is a rather complex visual, but I really like this one because it summarizes this NMC report. You can see we have some dates. So I've looked and tracked at this over the past couple of years. So in 2013, you see that they believe that the kind of things you would see in the classroom would be MOOCs. That was the year of the MOOCs, and mobile learning, mobile digital devices. 2 to 3 years, you can see some of those concepts about analytics, data analytics, gamification of learning, and then maker spaces and wearable technology. One of the key things here is obviously the next time seeing these trends, if they stay true to the trends, and you should see some of these ideas kick up from the 4 to 5 years to the 2 to 3 and right on down to current. Analytics, flipped classrooms, this maker space, 3D, and then the virtual assistant was new on the horizon. And then finally, this concept about flip or BYOD, now it's BYO app or BYOA, and maker spaces, wearable technology, and this whole concept of adaptive. And the Internet of Things is becoming really popular. This is an interesting graphic. Some may like, may not like, but this whole concept about the Web 1.2, 1 and 2 and 3.0. 1 obviously was this whole concept of passive clicking things, looking at websites. 2 has been more integrative and more participatory, and the 3 more of a immersive into some of the virtual concepts. I'd like to share with you about 8 or 10 different possibilities, and that's all they are, some possibility of some appropriate, relevant, meaningful technologies over the next couple of minutes, and they range from a Wordle to a concept map, to a blog, some microblogging, professional networking, looking at some mobile learning, some screencasting, and ultimately some virtual worlds. You've probably heard of some of these. Here's one, it's called a Wordle, and it's at wordle.net. This allows you to come up with this concept of a word diagram or a word nest, and the larger the words represents that they were voiced or written more frequently. So it's a word distribution diagram, but a very different way to do this. You can do this in a class and understand how students are thinking, or you can do this taking an entire paragraph or entire paper of a student's and determine which terms they're using, and those should align with the major theme. Concept maps have been popular for years. Novak came up with this in the 1980s. This is another way to do this in a very different form, to create electronic maps, which allow to be more portable, allows you to share these kind of things, move them around. MindMeister and Bubbleless has come up with these really kind of interesting learning objects. WordPress is a blogging. Keep in mind that blog came from the derivative of web and log, so weblog or blog. And the whole point here is that this allows students to write, reflect, become more metacognitive, share very easily, and you to give some feedback on a fairly real-time basis. And so WordPress is the type, it's a very popular type of a blog. Smaller blogs, or these microblogs, have become popular. Twitter has come up with a microblog which allows you to do 140 characters. They've really expanded upon this a bit, that allows you to add PDF files, allows you to do some audio, some videos, so that, again, another way to get students to think in a graphical way, in a media-rich way, the kind of things they've written, what they think about, storylines, reflect upon those, and share those broadly. Professional networking is something that you might be aware of. Trying to post some things, read some things, keep current in your field. Ideas like ResearchGate, academia.edu, and of course maintaining your Google Scholar H index will allow you to see what other people are reading and of your work, and how you're able to track some people that you follow in your disciplines. Screencasting is a really great concept, easy to do, super easy to do. Basically allows you to capture everything on your device and capture that along with your voice, so you can kind of walk them through, bring up visuals, move the cursor around, and also talk about what you hope for them to be seeing. Popular on web-based programs are a couple of them free, called Screenermatic and Screener with an R, and then there's applications for Show Me and Explain Everything. The last thing I'll briefly talk about is some virtual worlds, things like Second Life. You've probably seen these and derivations of these over the past 5 to 8 years. This is pushing a little bit, but I think that if you're wanting some engagement, especially some real-time engagement, some synchronous engagement with your students, they've got some really wonderful type of learning objects that are available, from the Human Genome Project to the Smithsonian to Sistine Chapel, you name it, they've recreated this in Second Life. The last thing, I'll just briefly run through some ideas for you to think about, and these are concepts that we always should be kind of keeping aware to see if they're going to help us become, and our students become, more engaged. Things like MOOCs, massively open online courses, nano degrees, digital content clearinghouses, this play with purpose, maker economy, fabrication labs, we might look at some of those, big data learning analytics, and then obviously adaptive technology for formative assessments. So I thank you very much for your time, and please try to remember that SAMR model. This is something that's going to be really important as you walk along to help track yourself, push yourself, and also monitor how you're able to deploy some of these things in a meaningful way. Thank you again. My name is Jace Hargis.